Shit, let me stop it before I get a strike. What's up, y'all? I was over there playing some rigor mortis before Cameo before I hit start. Man, that's my shit right there. That's funky than a motherfucker. Rigor mortis by Cameo. Salute to everybody that was part of class number 4 today on the history of R&B. Um, quick. How can I say this? Quick housekeeping. I realized Patreon wasn't keeping the classes up after I went live, so I just uploaded class number 3, and class number 4 will be uploaded. Class number 4 will be uploaded after I'm done with this live. But salute to everybody that was in there live. The history of R&B series is going great on Patreon. Salute to all the students and everybody that's been watching. But anyway, I thought of this question today on, overrated regions because I'm writing my book at the same time I'm teaching these music history courses on Patreon. And what I'm finding, what I'm seeing is the overall interconnectedness of Black American music and how, as much as I study, I cannot pin down one region as the most important. I cannot honestly pin down what city is the most important. Or because when it comes down to it, the music, even though it may start in a city or start in a region, the music that goes beyond a 2 or 3 year fad like Afro beats is the music that the rest of Black America picks up on. Like the first disco song was created in LA and then Philadelphia in the same year, 1973. And then New York started doing disco. And then disco started coming out the Midwest. And then disco started coming in the South. And then disco blew into what it was because different regions picked up on it. Funk started with James Brown, but it was Sly and the Family Stone in Oakland that, along with the Meters in New Orleans, Isaac Hayes in Memphis, and War in the Watts 103rd Street Band in LA, that made funk become a big thing. It's like music that is created in a region and doesn't get picked up by other regions, like Go-Go and Zydeco, something that I taught about in much more comprehensively earlier in our class. You know, it becomes like Go-Go if the rest of Black America don't pick it up. Like the Seattle grunge sound that Tina Bell created. Had other parts of Black America picked up on grunge, there would have been no space for Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. We create things, but if the rest of Black America don't pick up on it, other races will pick up on it, and then we'll think of it as their music, like Nirvana and the Seattle sound and grunge music. That was created by a Black woman, Tina Bell, but the rest of Black America didn't pick up on it. So Kurt Cobain picked up on it, and he ended up becoming the label of that sound. And that's why that's how I wanted to start off today's topic. Are these regions that we talk about overrated when it comes to our music? Because there's some regions that talk a fuck ton about their importance, and then there are other regions that are just as important, oftentimes more important, like Detroit, Chicago, the Midwest, the West, Philadelphia. You don't really hear people from Philly talk. And you can't find a city more important to our Black music than Philadelphia. But they don't really talk. You know, Oakland. People from Oakland don't really run their mouth. Oakland is so important to our sound. St. Louis, Kansas City, These places are very, 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 very important to our sound. Yet you don't hear them talk that much. So today, I ask the questions. Are some of these regions overrated when it comes to the music? And what I want you to do as I continue to talk, I'm going to open up the phone lines in about 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to open up the phone lines. And what I want is for you, if you disagree, agree, have a comment on what I'm saying, I want you to call in. Today is a call in show. I want to discuss this because I was reading some comments in my last video when I talked about Too Short saying that, they used New York as a blueprint for what not to do. I had some comments in the comment section. People were mad at that, obviously. So what I want to do is, I'm not gonna get loud. I'm not gonna disrespect you. As long as you don't disrespect me, and I'm going to allow you to voice your opinion on this particular topic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the intro music real fast, and then what we gonna do is we gonna get right back to it in about 1 minute. All right, there we go. All right. See, I want today's show. I want today's show to be educational, informative, and also interactive. I'm just playing. Let's play some music and let's get it in. So, yeah. So I want today's show to be informational and and informative. And I want you to call in. Especially those of you with limited viewpoints, like this guy that just made a comment. He said the reason Too Short didn't use the New York blueprint is because Too Short isn't as lyrical. Shut the fuck up. Too Short is very lyrical, you just don't like him. Those of us on the West Coast, his lyrics showed us what we was seeing every goddamn day. He just has a different rhyme pattern. Too Short is unique, unlike Jay-Z. See the difference? Too Short is very lyrical. Songs like The Ghetto, songs like Surviving the Game. but he made his lyrics palatable and simple and easy for people to digest. Too Short didn't catch on in New York like that because not all, but too many New Yorkers are haters. And if people aren't from New York, they tend to get hated on. If New Yorkers care so much about lyrics, tell me how Tekashi 6ix9ine and Cardi B became the face of your city in the last 10 to 15 years. If it was all about being lyrical. Stop the cap. Just be honest, you know? You don't like motherfuckers who ain't from New York. And that's just the long and short of it. Don't come around, don't insult the man. All right? Yeah, to your and even if you didn't think he was lyrical, to write Too Short out of the history and building of hip hop rap is criminal. Too Short started before he and LL Cool J started the same year, 1980s, when they started rapping. I'm not taking calls yet. I will take calls in about 5 minutes. Don't call in yet. I will be taking calls in about 5 minutes. So I want to bring that out, and here's the reason why. Again, here's the reason why we're having this discussion. Is because my whole goal, and I'm very clear in my intention. It's always these thick-skulled New York niggas that don't be hearing me when I say this, and certain niggas from the South when I say this. My goal is to bust all the regional bullshit. It's okay to acknowledge a region, but to say that your region, your city, your sound is the most important is 100,000% bullshit. I don't give a fuck what city you in. From New Orleans to New York, from Seattle to Miami, from Chicago to LA. Anybody saying that my city is the most important, as a very well-read man and a strong researcher of music, I'm here to tell you your regional bullshit is bullshit, okay? All of it. But we get 3 places I see talk the most about their region. And one of them aren't even part of our goddamn conversation. And the first one is Africa. First off, Africans don't say this shit. Only Pan-African niggas born in Cleveland are the ones that talk like this. Niggas who can't break down 2 lyrics from an African song outside of not a Buju's Jamaican, outside of Wizkid. You know one Wizkid song, and that's our shit basically. You ain't got not one. You don't even know the difference between a song out of Ghana and a song out of the Congo. Nigga, you born in Detroit, talking about something. All our music is African. Shut the fuck up, please. We gotta stop that. That's like saying all language is African. Well, Africa had the first written language, and Africa had the first books. So that means every book you read is African. Huh? You mean to tell me people didn't take it and create their books in their own language, in their own dialect, source material from their own regions? That didn't happen. So because the first written books are in Africa, that means all books are African? Does that make sense, people? Does that make sense? Just because I'm reading a book and the first books discovered were in Africa, therefore all books are African. Well, the tree of life is in Africa, and the first trees was discovered by fossils in Africa. Therefore, all trees are African. If it's a tree out of Argentina, it's Africa. If it's a tree out of Ecuador, it's African. If it's a tree in Russia, it's African. If it's a tree in Poland, it's African. If it's a tree in Memphis, it's African. Does that happen? No. That don't happen with language. It don't happen with raw material. Nothing. But when it comes to Black American music, specifically our music, not Aboriginal Australian music, not Mexican music, not Spanish music, not Saudi Arabian music, not Chinese music, not Japanese music. Only when it comes to our music, it's African. So is Africa an overrated region when it comes to our music? Hell yeah. Because you can't even find, we don't use the same instruments, we don't use the same scale, we don't speak the same language, we ain't got the same time signature. The spacing is different, the structure is different, the layering is different. Everything about it is different. Yet Africa still gets the credit. And I'm going to allow you guys to call in a couple more minutes. I'm just going to lay this foundation down. Because the reason why I'm going to let y'all call in, because I'm being very clear. So if you're going to call in, my advice to you is to listen to what I'm saying. When you call in, if you create a straw argument, what is a straw argument? A straw argument is creating a point that I did not make. If you create a straw argument and argue that point, I'm going to cut you off and bring you back to what I said. So I'm giving two more examples. Hopefully you just heard the first about Africa. I'm about to go in and talk about New York, and I'm going to talk about the South. And when I finish making this point, if you call in, at least have the decency to have listened to the words that I said. If you in the chat running your mouth, it means you're probably not listening. So I encourage you to listen, and I will open these phone lines up in a few minutes, okay? Now, let's go to the South. Now, I'm going to New York. I'm going in order. Let's go to New York. New York and its importance when it comes to sounds like hip hop, way overrated. Okay? What Kool Herc started is not the hip hop that went around the world. Because first off, Kool Herc didn't start nothing. But the elements that New York gives, graffiti, b-boying, rap, DJing, these so-called elements. Rapping was already there, you didn't create it. DJing was already there, you didn't create it. Break beats were created by James Brown, not hip-hop. Break beats do not come from rap, from DJing, from Kool Herc. Break beats come from James Brown. That's where break beats come from. That's where break beats come from. Trying to get to the break beat. That's a break beat right there. That's where the break beat comes from. That's where the break beat comes from. That's the breakbeat. It does not come from Kool Herc. Okay? You overstate your importance. You didn't bring anything new to music. And when it comes to the b-boying part, I always say this. Can you have hip-hop without someone b-boying on stage? And the answer is yes. I've been to thousands of hip-hop parties, and only in a handful of them have I seen someone break out in a b-boy dance. Dances are multi-regional, and they change every year. Hip-hop is being made regardless of b-boying. The graffiti, Pedro Bell out of Chicago, Philadelphia. Cornbread out of Philadelphia. Already I could tell people aren't listening. I said I would tell you when to call in. Listen! Because I don't want to argue over some shit that I didn't say. That's why I'm telling you guys to listen first before you call in. I ain't about to argue over something I didn't say. So listen. And when it comes to, okay, New York created the sound, the vibe of hip hop. Every city that hip hop blew up in created its own sound and its own vibe. Okay? And it was in Oakland creating its sound and its vibe. LA creating its sound and its vibe. Chicago creating its sound and its vibe. Atlanta creating its sound and its vibe. That's what blew hip hop up. Everybody's participation and their creation within the context of their environment. Like I showed you with Too Short. Them niggas weren't copying off New York. They said, okay, we rapping now? Okay, I'm going to rap this way. You going to rap that way. We been rapping. Going back to Louis Jordan. We been rapping. So that's what I mean by overrated. Yeah, pat your back on yourself on the back for starting something. But what other groups did with it is what they did with it. Ain't got nothing to do with you. Calm down. The last point I'm going to make before I accept calls is the South, the Delta. That's some more shit that white people lied to your black ass about that you repeat. All of our music does not come from the South. It does not come from the Delta. A lot of it does. But Philadelphia as a city, not even as a region, Philadelphia as a city goes back further in the history of black music than the Mississippi Delta. Whoa, did I just say that? I think I just did. I think I just did. I think I just did. 1801, when Richard Allen created the gospel hymn book, the Mississippi Delta wasn't even a part of the United States. Oh, did I just say that? Did I just say Boston's musical history goes back further than the Mississippi Delta? Yes, I did. The Mississippi Delta wasn't even a part of the country until 1804, and it didn't get populated until 1815, 1820, when cotton became king. And a lot of the Mississippi Delta throughout from 1810 to really all the way through 1865, all the way through the end of slavery. A lot of that labor was imported from the Midwest, from Virginia, from South Carolina, from Delaware, and around that East Coast. Rikers Island was created in the 1820s to catch free folks of color, natives and Negroes, and they would catch them at Rikers Island and put them on boats there in New York and bring their black asses around that horn to New Orleans and sell them as slaves. There's a lot of people in the South that aren't native to the South. All you have to do, god damn it, is just study the intracontinental slave trade and how humans were moved around. So when we're dealing with the Mississippi Delta, we already have a thriving scene in Philadelphia in American music that still plays through music today. The orchestral arrangements. People like to forget the orchestral arrangements and how big that is to the Black American sound. It's not just the polyrhythms. It's not just the soul. It's also the arrangements. It's also that Philly sound that listen to this. Music like let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Let me see here. Let me see here. What can I play? What can I play? Let me play something from my golden era of R&B playlist that you can find over on iTunes. And I'm opening up the phone line in 1 second. But we're listening to, where is that? Come on, Harold Melvin and Blue Notes. This is Philadelphia dance music. That number's hot. One of the early days of disco right there. I don't know if you heard it, but if you're listening, you can hear those horns and strings in the background. That's a very, very important component in Philadelphia music. You hear that grand orchestral arrangement? The horns, the strings? That's Philadelphia. Long before there was Southern influence. Long 200 years before the Great Migration. Just 200 years before the Great Migration that you had the orchestral sound. 200 years before the Great Migration. We talked about that before.
Francis.
I was trying to play some music.
Welcome to
I don't want to hear nobody talking. I want to play a sound. Your Philadelphia sound is built off of the classical orchestral sound. That's the meat and potatoes of their sound. And I'm just using Philadelphia as an example. Cincinnati had its own sound with parlor music. Chicago, Detroit. All of these cities in the North had their own sound. And when artists came from the Mississippi Delta, they came into regions and they fused. That's where fusion comes in. They fused that Mississippi Delta sound with a sound that already existed in the North. That's why after you see the people come from the South to the North, the combination of what was already there with what came created something new and an evolution. So that's my point of view when it talks about all this regional banging being bullshit. Now the phone lines are open. You can call in and say what you got to say. Don't put words in my mouth. And please, 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 and this especially goes to the fellas, don't scream like a single mom waiting on her child support check. Let's talk. We can agree. We can disagree. We can, you can just say your opinion. It can be neither one. But that's what I want to talk about. 323 388 3315. Got the first caller calling in.
Barry from New York.
Well, let me read these super chats and I'm going to get right to you. Roger
All right.
Meadows says NY has different stages, eras depending on the era. This new crop of rappers we putting out aren't lyricists. The last lyricist y'all put out was Remy. Okay. I roll with that. Tommy O says African music still uses Nintendo MIDI bass lines from Contra and Castlevania. Facts. All right, caller, what's the name? Where you calling from?
Barry from New York.
Barry from New York. What's on your mind?
So what I'm saying is, I definitely disagree with you. New York City and New York is definitely not overrated, but I would say that Philadelphia, Oakland, and especially Memphis, they're underrated. That's the problem. New York is the media capital of the world, so we're going to get all of the publicity and all of the buzz. Those rest of those places are just extremely underrated. When I went to Memphis, and I went to visit Stax museums, I was completely impressed of the music that came out of Memphis. What you're talking about, Philly, the same way. All of the best producers are not from New York. So New York is basically known just for creating rap. We really don't have any great producers, and because we're the media capital of the world, it comes with a lot of arrogance and being headstrong, and that's just what it is. So I just disagree that we're overrated, and those other places are just underrated.
Okay, that's a good. I understand that. I don't. I'm not gonna argue with you on that.
Okay, but I definitely appreciate your show, man. And as a New Yorker, when I sit here and I hear you talk, I'll be like, "Damn, he right like a motherfucker," and it hurts a little bit. But sometimes the truth is the truth.
For sure, man.
You do speak the
And much love to New York. But the whole point is just to get the story corrected, to get everybody on the table. You dig?
You ain't tell no lies, brother. And I've been around since rap started. I'm in my late 50s. I've been here when the rap started, and to me, one of the lyricists that we should be talking about that we don't is Melly Mel from Grandmaster Flash in the Furious Five. Screw Jay Z. He's the true lyricist of New York. He's the person that really came out with speaking with education and really telling stories. So to me, when we talk about New York lyricists, I always start with Melly Mel. Everybody else is just an afterthought.
I agree with that. And Melly Mel is most definitely underrated. When you're talking about the message, come on now. Like,
Yeah,
that
Jay Z
resonated.
is like a carbon copy, and people from New York really didn't really screw with Jay Z like that. The truth be told, Jay Z, we always knew that he was a copy artist. He never really had the respect. That's why Nas was able to take him down with just one record, because people just really didn't. They keep it a buck. They didn't. You know, we just like he just wasn't that dude.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
Coogee Rap and Polo is some guy that really have lyrics. Is Big Daddy Kane, you know, Rakim, but like I said, Melly Mel, and even LL Cool J to a certain degree were the rappers that really had good lyrics. And as far as the other regions like Too Short, all of these guys are very very good. You know, when as a New Yorker, when I hear rappers from different regions rapping their style, man, I appreciate it. Like I love Bone Thugs and Harmony. I love the way that they came out. They created a style. Scarface, Common from Chicago. So rap is just something that's not going to be just New York rules everything. It's everybody brings their own recipe to the gumbo, which is rap.
I'm with you, right, man. I got to take the other call, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, he made a good point. That other
ATC.
areas are most definitely underrated, and I agree with that. And I'm gonna get you caught in 1 second. And so, like, and that right there, if the rest of us around the country heard 9 out of 10 New Yorkers talking like this last caller, we would not be having this conversation right now. The problem is 2 out of 10 talk like this last caller, and the other 8 be like, "We the best." Shut up. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Agency out of Houston.
All right, what's on your mind, brother?
Oh no, I was just listening, and I was just watching a documentary earlier about Robin Walker explaining that the rhythms that America has came out of Africa, and I was like, man, you should listen to Dewan D's explanation because I was like, you would have roasted that guy, just cooked him because you have already explained that we had invented the drum set. Like everything he was saying just was contradictory to what you had already lessoned about.
I'm glad you brought that up
So,
because somebody on IG on Twitter tagged me in that video. I had done a
oh
break.
man.
I'd done a breakdown before on what he said, but I don't think I
Hmm.
remember playing the video. So I think what I might do is I might revisit that, but I think I'm gonna revisit it on Patreon so I can play the music. But I'm gonna
Yeah,
I'm gonna address that right now. I'm glad you called in and said that because I appreciate the call. Did you have anything else you want to say?
for sure. Just one thing. He said that Bo Diddley gets credited for inventing rock and roll along with Little Richard, Ike Turner, but he did not include Chuck Berry. That was just it was just you need to definitely address it. That was it.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
I appreciate that. But I'm gonna address it
Hmm.
right now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Some people on Twitter has sent me that video, and I talked about it before, but I do need to talk about it again. Robin Walker basically is talking about Black American drums coming out of Africa, and that can't
Call
be
from
further from the
Damon.
truth. That can't be any further
Accept.
from the truth. What's up, caller? Hold on one second. I'm making this point that I'm getting right to you. Um, that song cannot be anything further from the truth. Black American rhythms are Black American rhythms. Are there some African polyrhythms? Yeah, you can trace, but there's so much you can trace to indigenous rhythms. There's some rhythms you can trace back to Europe, but those are all auxiliary rhythms. The primary rhythms that we use here in Black America are our rhythms. Anytime you hear the backbeat on the 2 and the 4, you're dealing with a Black American rhythm that did not exist in Africa. What is the backbeat on the on the 2/4 backbeat? Every fucking song that you hear, literally every song. Let me give you one song right here. Let's what I mean by 2/4 backbeat? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we count our music. Africans don't count their music like that. They count on the 1 and the 3. So if you're dealing with the 2/4 backbeat, you're already 100% in American rhythm. You've already X'd out 98% of the rest of the world, 99% of the rest of the world, just on the 2/4 backbeat. That alone. And then if you take it to the next level and come up with other beats, um, if you come up with other beats like the shuffle, because it goes deeper. You not only do you have the 2/4 the 2/4 rhythm, you get 1 second caller. You get the shuffle. This is a this is a completely American Black American rhythm. The shuffle. What? It's the shuffling of a triplet note. Instead of playing pa 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 pa, you shuffle it. Pa 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 pa. That is a completely Black American rhythm. Has absolutely nothing to do with Africa. It doesn't exist in Africa in no way, shape, or form. Okay? Those are like when they pull African rhythms, it's so the evidence is so scant and minute, it doesn't matter. Because these are the dominant beats that we use and they're completely from us. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name's Damon. I'm calling out of Baltimore.
They,
So, I got to give it to you, bro. You a straight musicologist. You know what I mean? So I can't get on that level. But basically, I want to say a region that's underrated to me. I think Memphis rap music is the real sound of like the modern rap song. Like people put it on Atlanta, which I do love. Outkast, I think they're one of the greatest groups ever. But I think the group that people don't talk about, 8 Ball MJG. That's a sound that translated to 3 6 Mafia. And even back in the day when I listened to 3 6 Mafia, I was like, these cats is crazy. But I knew that sound was going to take over the radio, and it did. It became like a huge sound in the early 2000s and beyond. But I definitely think that 8 Ball MJG 3 6 Mafia don't get as much
I
props
agree.
as.
Look, bruh. Here's the thing about Atlanta. Um, the Atlanta sound. Atlanta gets something that LA doesn't get. Atlanta is a place how people view LA is how Atlanta exists. People view LA as just the place. When it comes to our music, people view it as just the place people travel to from other places and record there. And we oftentimes don't get credit for our own homegrown sounds,
Hmm.
like smooth jazz, like smooth R&B, like R&B. We oftentimes don't get credit because people just assume, well, that person came from the South. That the fact is, Atlanta, a lot of Atlanta sound is other parts of the South and other parts of the country that moved to Atlanta to get put on.
Hmm.
And Memphis was a major city that moved to Atlanta to get put on. So, because like the way the politics of the South work is like post 2002, 2003, if you're from the South and you want to pop, you got to go to Atlanta. Versus back in the 90s and the 80s, you could have a rap a lot in Houston. You know what I mean? You could have a Memphis
Hmm.
out, and it wasn't as consolidated. So a lot of what Atlanta gets credit for is actually other parts of the country having to move there if they want to get popping nationwide. So and Memphis
Hey,
is a major victim of that.
now I got a question though. Now I thank you for chiming in on that. I got a question about my city, Baltimore. Right? I know I hear a lot about back in the day. Baltimore was a popping spot in the Chitlin circuit, but I haven't really heard no real details about what was happening, what was coming out of there, what was coming out of here, and how it affected the music scene overall in history.
See, Baltimore is one of those unsung heroes of music that Baltimore people from Baltimore are going to have to start speaking up and stepping out more. I know Baltimore, for the most part, resisted a lot of the go-go side of DC, but
Yes, sir.
Baltimore they put out a lot of your smooth R&B, a lot of your more the soulful, seductory style R&B that comes out of DC and Philadelphia. Baltimore is just as important along that continuum. It's just a lot of Baltimore went to DC or Philadelphia to push that sound. You know what I mean?
Or New York.
Yeah, or New
Yeah,
York,
yeah.
or New
Uh-huh.
York. And
Yeah.
since no industry was centered in Baltimore for you guys, a lot of you guys didn't get credit because a lot of Baltimore had to go to Philly, really Philly, New York, and sometimes
Hey,
DC to get.
one of the craziest things in the history of music that's wild is that Milli Vanilli bought a song from some young guys in Baltimore called the New Marks,
Oh yeah,
and that was yeah, they bought that song, they won the Grammy for, and they paid them guys like 15,000, and they said they heard it in the club in Germany, and they called the dudes, bought the song, and won the Grammy. Just some regular young kids, and it's just something that it's just one of the marks in history that people don't even think about.
yeah. And Baltimore, it's like that's why I'm getting away from this regional stuff. Wherever Black Americans exist, music exists. You know, one of the great saxophonists of all time, Gary Bartz, he's from Baltimore. He played with Miles Davis. He's in his like late 80s and he's still alive, mid 80s, and he's still alive touring,
Mm.
live touring. So if you ever see Gary Bartz come in town, he's from Baltimore. Great saxophonist. He has a song
I'm
called
gonna look them up.
he has a song called "Music Is My Sanctuary" that was sampled a lot. But he played with Miles Davis and everybody look him up. Man, but have a good
Yes,
one.
sir. Yes, sir.
Call from
KGC.
What's up, Carter? Hold on, real 1 second. Let me read the super chat and I'll get right to you. Um, Roger Meadows in the super chat says, HH is an amalgamation of Freedmen, soul music, R&B, jazz, but due to New York Department of Education cutting back on music programs, they weren't able to afford classic instruments where they could create their own original music. I'm with you right there. Real talk, Roger Meadows. Appreciate the super chat. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
This agency out of Houston again, real quick. Three quick points, and I'm gonna let you go. You talked about Oakland, and that brings up MC Hammer. I always thought he was the greatest blue boy of all time because he always says, "And turn his mother out." I'm from Oaktown, B-boy straight down, and that's why his music is as energetic as it is because he created it from the aspect of b-boying. Second of all, you talked
You
about
said from b-boying. No, he's from the West Coast. We was pop locking out here. He can't. He's more from pop.
No. I mean as far as the type of energy in his music. So when he says and turn his mother out, I'm from Oaktown, b-boy straight down.
Okay.
Like he acknowledges that he's a b-boy, and I would always argue to people when they talk about b-boying, MC Hammer is always left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he's one of the greatest b-boys of all time. Just as far as like
I hear you.
His acknowledgement of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you spoke about the Atlanta region, how people would go to Atlanta to get put on, and how Atlanta, their early sound in rap music was an amalgamation of other places. In regards to that, you have the
no, their current sound. Before you go, their current sound is an amalgamation of all places. The original sound with Rico Wade is original.
Okay, so in to complement what you're saying, so when you hear the NWA sample when Eazy-E says, "I jumped in my ride, I hit the switch, got the front, back to side," then Underground Kings from Port Arthur, Bun B and Pimp C, they have the song that samples that then goes to Atlanta, that is for in the late 90s, early 2000s, that becomes like a heavily sampled portion of the foundation of rap that T.I. and Ludacris and all of them use, and they always pay homage to UGK, but that goes back to NWA. And then you have the Baltimore conversation. Component of music that gets overlooked from Baltimore is house. So yes, Washington D.C. has the go-go music, but the house movement out of Baltimore, and it's comparable to what was out of Chicago. But you have the comparison of that for the music that is specific to the region of Baltimore. Philadelphia has house too, but Baltimore is really where you'll go. It's either going to be Chicago or Baltimore, and so that's a large component. And I'll land. That was it.
I appreciate the call, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up house music, because house music is another thing that it started in Chicago, and it got to Detroit before it got to Baltimore. It got Chicago, Detroit. That's a Midwest sound, which is also house is an electronic form of disco, the same way rap hip hop is an electronic form of funk. They're twins, disco and funk, and that was today's class. If you're in my music history course, Preston, for those in my music history course, this is what we talked about today. We talked about, I don't want y'all saying, here we go. When it comes to that, this was today's class. Funk and disco, the rhythm of liberation. Funk and disco are they're twins. They're twin children of rhythm and blues. That's what funk and disco are. They're twin children of rhythm and blues. And what's up, Carter? 1 second, let me finish making this point, then I'll get right to you. Funk and disco are twin children of rhythm and blues. The funk is more of black folk speed, slower, relaxed, more in the pocket. Disco is more of a faster upper speed, a speed that, and a tempo that other folks from around the world could easier get, because they dance like Them folks, they dance like pogo sticks. You know what I mean? Bouncing around that shit. That's what they like. You know, they like that. They like that fast shit, like Donna Summer. This is our version, so it's slower, but they like that. They like that pulse. They like that constant pulse. And out of that sound, you get house. Out of that disco, four on the floor, sound. That's where you get house. Where you get funk. Funk is gonna be more so back in the pocket. Where is that song? It's damn it, that song ain't up the one I wanted. Funk is gonna be more in the pocket, back. You know, like this is out of our tempo, and that's where out of that hip hop grows. And when Chicago came up with the house sound at the time that they were ending disco, people still needed that pulse. And like the person in the comments said earlier, they had taken the music teaching out of schools. So there was no more learning music. So the same way hip hop took records and slowed them down and put that bass on them to rap, house took those records and sped it up and put that four on the floor to everything. And then Baltimore picked up house. New York picked up house. LA more picked up techno than house. LA was more of a techno place back then. The house folks out here, 80% of the people who do house out here in LA are gay. No disrespect to the gay, but that's gay music in LA. You know what I mean? 85% of people you see at a house party listen to house in LA, them niggas is gay. But that's fine. I ain't tripping on people's sexual preference. LA more so picked up on techno. But techno and house all come from disco. So we got to make sure that we always keep that history straight, and each region just more so. Music genres are just flavors. They're not that big of a difference. They're all family. Like we're all family in here. You know what I mean? It's just a slightly different flavor depending on your region and depending on the tempo. But it's still born from the same blues root. What's up, Carl? What's the name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Duan B, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
This is Tomao, long time listener, always posting on in the comment section.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Let's
real
call
quick. Hey, thank you. Real quick. Now I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm not gonna bang on other regions because I love music. I DJ on Mixcloud and all that. When it comes to Ohio, you cannot disprove that it is the cradle of funk. It could be the cradle of all things modern. For example, from Cincinnati, King Studios, James Brown, Bootsy Collins comes from Cincinnati. The Isley Brothers are from Cincinnati. The JBs had various Cincinnati musicians. I can go to Dayton. We already know Dayton is the birthplace of modern funk, electro funk, and early boogie. Slave, Ohio Players, Roger Troutman, Lakeside. We go up to the Northeast, Levert, right? Howard Hewitt. One of the reasons I like West Coast rap and hip hop back in the 80s, 90s is because they used a lot of samples from those Ohio artists, those funk artists, that G-Funk era. And so, and one last thing I got to say about Ohio, it's a spiritual region, right? It's one of the first stops on the Underground Railroad was Cincinnati before you get into, quote unquote free territory. And so the Isley Brothers, well, if you know Cincinnati, there's this place of resistance, as you saw in the news this year, right? The Isley Brothers did a song called Fight the Power. So there's always been a resistance element to musicians in the Ohio region. And that's all I got.
Thanks for calling in, brother.
All right.
Yeah, I want to correct. Ohio most definitely is the cradle. Like that's where a lot of your funk really germinated, and that's where funk got to. It's a lot of its height was in Ohio, but funk. You gotta remember, a lot of those King Records artists, JB's artists, they're from the South. James Brown's from the South. It was a combination, a mixture of the regional sound of Ohio, and some of the musicians. We gotta realize Bootsy Collins and those guys, They were the second generation of James Brown's band. The Flames was the original. The original funk band was the Flames, and they were all from the South with Bobby Bird. And when James Brown fired them, and he went up to King Records because James Brown was a good businessman, and King Records was fledgling, and so he went there to Cincinnati, Ohio, and got King Records. And then when that white man died, he basically took over the record label. But the original band was from the South, all over the South, not just in one region of the South. And then the second generation of James Brown's band came from Ohio. But the reason why I don't give Ohio complete credit or the Midwest complete credit for funk is yet it's like New York. It started there, but it was Sly and the Family Stone, and that was discussed today in today's class also. It was Sly and the Family Stone. And again, we went into great detail on Patreon. Right here. This is what we're talking about in class today. It was Sly and the Family Stone that took funk worldwide. They were the ones that crossed funk over.
Call from
Let me see.
Kwame.
Hold on, Carter. 1 second. I'll get right to you when I'm done making this point. It was Sly and the Family Stone that took funk to the level, because James Brown was black, bliggity black. He made music for us. He had a chance to cross over when he sold 3 million records live in James Brown 1963. And then songs like It's a Man's World, Please, Please, Please. Then when he's doing the rock and roll sound, he could have, but when he went to funk, James Brown went black. And it was Sly and the Family Stone out of Oakland that took it nationwide with Everyday People and Thank You. And then after Sly and the Family Stone, you got to go 1969. You got the Watts 103rd Street Band out of LA. You got Isaac Hayes out of Memphis. And you got the Meters out of New Orleans that went to the funk sound. And in 1969, we got to know that the Ohio Players at that time were still a jazz band. Parliament at that time was still a doo-wop band. Parliament, let me see here. Where is it at? I'm looking for that. Parliament. Parliament 1969. They were still with Motown, trying to get a Motown hit. No, they were 66. By 69, that's when they're going up, and they're now transitioning from doo-wop to rock. They were doing heavy metal at that time, as you got into the early 70s. It was LA, Watts 103rd Street Band, War 1971 out of LA. They were doing funk before Parliament Funkadelic, before the Ohio Players. And then once the sound started to really become something in the 70s, then it goes 71, then it goes back to Ohio, and the Ohio Players was the first really homegrown funk band when they dropped this.
She's here, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you, man.
When they dropped this funky worm right here.
Do we get paid for this?
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes, of course.
We do.
When they dropped that funky worm, then it went back to Ohio. And when the sound got to Ohio in that Midwest region, then that's when them niggas took funk and just did some way out there shit with it. And they took funk. Ohio took funk to the level of genius as jazz. When you're dealing with Slave, when you're dealing with those bands, that funk sound, Parliament Funkadelic, that is every bit as genius as jazz, just with a different groove. That's why I keep saying there is no one region that can really take credit for anything. It's when multiple regions of Black America pick up on it, and then we come together. The bass player from the South, the drummer from LA, the guitar player from Ohio, the singer from Seattle, and when we get that stew of blackness from all over the country, that's when shit really takes off. What's up, caller? What's the name? Where you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Kwame. I guess the chat was telling me to call in. because I was just kind of confused about the title, saying that New York is irrelevant, which is the birthplace of hip hop, has the
I didn't
you
say.
know
Hold on,
the
hold on, hold
number
on,
one.
hold on, hold on, hold on. The title doesn't say New York is irrelevant.
That's what I'm reading. It says New
Where?
York. It says, let me reread the title. Is New York, Africa, and the South overrated in black
Yeah,
music?
overrated, not irrelevant. Overrated.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, the Bronx is the birth of hip hop. Most of the African griots will influence jazz and Congo Square, which is the birthplace of jazz.
What Africa? Hold on, hold on, hold on.
And
What African griot was in Congo Square? Black people weren't allowed to assimilate
the
freely.
well, I guess you're not aware of Congo Square,
No,
which is the
I know
birthplace of
Congo
jazz.
Square, but I also know that in Congo Square, the majority of people, the majority of blacks in New Orleans, they had gotten when after slavery during the first Great Migration, those are blacks from all across the South, along with indigenous blacks that left plantation that left not plantations left their tribes to move to New Orleans for work, and the black indigenous and the black former slave were forced into the same neighborhoods in the
What,
1870s, and that's how you get
what's a
jazz.
black indigenous?
A black indigenous is a Cherokee, a Choctaw, a Poarch, people who were on tribal lands who chose to relocate to the city for work.
Are you talking about the tribes that had black slaves?
No, I'm not talking about. Did you hear what I just said? I
Yeah,
was
I know
very
the Cherokee
clear.
had black
I was
slaves.
very clear on what I said. I'm talking about
Yeah, but the
people.
Cherokee had black
I'm
slaves. They wasn't
some
originally black.
tribes have some tribes most definitely had slaves, and oftentimes those were people that were buying their family back that were captured into slavery by white former slave patrollers that were capturing people and selling them off into slavery. And a lot of those people came back. Were there some indigenous
I,
tribes that were, as prisoners of war, kept some slaves? Yes, but there were also far more people in the Poarch Nation, in the Algonquin nations in the upper northeast, down south regions, the Poarch regions, the Muskogee regions. A lot of those people who are on tribal land. This is a fact. When slavery ended, it's economics like it is now. The same way you have Native Americans who are on Apache reservations say, you know what? Before the casinos came, ain't enough money. I gotta go work down at that factory to bring money back. Same thing happened in New Orleans, and that's what was going on in New Orleans. Because the fact of the matter is, very few African slaves that were brought to America, they were brought to Virginia and South Carolina, not to New Orleans. That's a
yeah,
fact.
I don't think any expert in the field would
I
agree
don't
with
know.
that. But I
I
just
don't know.
wanted
No,
to.
no, 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 no. You don't have to think. I'm gonna need you to pick up a book yourself, brother. I'm gonna need you to know that.
Uh,
I'm gonna need you to know that the
I
African,
mean, I could pick up a
the
book, but it's no
400,000, the
expert.
400, the 350,000 slaves that came from Africa went to South Carolina and Virginia. That's a fact. Not
Yeah,
New
but
Orleans.
the French had slaves too from Africa,
The French had less than
and
20,
those.
and the French had less than 23,000 slaves. And guess what? When those French slaves came to America, they weren't allowed to bring any musical traditions to America. And the French slaves stopped coming in the 1790s. And they imported between them getting that land and them selling that land in the Louisiana Purchase of 1804, they brought in less than 25,000 slaves. So by the time you get to the 1880s, 1890s, 1900s, I'm really the 1910s when jazz is really taking form. By the time you get into the 1910s, you're now more than 100 years removed from when the French had that land.
Yeah, maybe you could put some experts in the chat
No, I'm an
in the
expert.
field
No, no, no,
that
no, no, no,
agree.
no. I'm an expert. You're talking to the expert.
What degrees you hold?
Here's one of them. Let me show you. How many degrees you got? One of my degrees,
I'm not an expert in this
one of
field. I'm
my
asking
degrees
you,
is in
are you an
communication
expert?
studies from Cal State Northridge. My minor was in cultural anthropology. My degree is on how to trace culture and trace lineage and how to communicate said findings. That's what my college degree is. What's yours?
Yeah, but
No, 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 no. You asked the
you're
question. No,
not
no,
an
no, 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 no,
you're not an
no. No, 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 no,
archaeologist. You're
no,
not
no,
a
no, 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 no.
paleontologist.
You asked the question. Of course, I'm not. You know what an archaeologist does?
Yeah,
An archaeologist finds bones. I'm not dealing with
yeah,
bones.
but you're not a
I'm dealing with
paleontologist. You're not
No, you don't even know what is a paleontologist. They deal with dinosaurs. I deal with anthropology.
paleontologists
Hold
don't
on,
deal
hold on,
with
hold on, hold on, hold
dinosaurs.
on. Anthropology. is the study, cultural anthropology is the study of culture and how to trace culture. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about bones in the ground. We're talking about tracing culture. So yes, sir, I have a degree. Where's yours?
Yeah, but I was just
Oh
about
no,
to
no, no,
say
no, no, no!
you're trying to
Stop, stop,
rewrite.
stop, stop,
I don't
stop,
have a
stop.
degree. I don't have a
Okay, you
degree.
answer that
I don't have
question.
a degree in those.
Thank you. Now go
Yeah,
ahead.
I see you trying to rewrite the the origins of hip hop, which is already established in
Hold
New
on,
York
hold on,
City.
hold on. Again, I don't know if you were here earlier. I said I'm not going to allow people to rewrite what I said. I never rewrote the origins of hip hop. I said when it came to what happened in New York created a sound that was good for New York. But when it came to hip hop, the growth of hip hop, the brothers like Too Short that created it in Oakland created in his own vein and style. He didn't do what New York said. He actually said it in an interview I played yesterday. He didn't do what New York did. He created his hip hop in the context and the feeling of Oakland. The same way Toddy
Yeah,
T
it was
the
influ.
same way Toddy
Yeah,
T created his hip hop in reflection with LA. The same way Rico Wade and the Outkast, they created their hip hop in the context and the sound of Atlanta. That's what I said.
okay, I could agree with that. Hip hop is is birthed in New York by a mix of Afro
And there
Caribbean.
is nope, that's another lie. Because what there was let's go to the whole part about birth in New York. What new, I'm gonna ask you a question. What new did New York give to music? That when you say new, it was created in New York. What new came in that creation
Right,
that didn't exist before? What was new that didn't
right.
exist?
Toasting, breaking beats,
No,
the
okay, let's
scratching
go there.
technique by
Toasting, no, Black Americans didn't get it from toasting. Toasting, when you say toasting, you mean like cracking jokes and like talking and like kind of talking shit in the music?
no, I'm talking about
That's what
the
toasting is.
DJ. Yeah, talking over the beat, things like
Well,
that.
okay, let me give you an
And,
example. I'm gonna let you talk, but I'm going line by line. No, toasting did not
yeah,
come from Jamaica. We were toasting in our music or cracking jokes. Cox and Dine said it himself. He got it from the Americans. Let me give you an example to show you my bullshitting. There's a song by Louis Jordan, the original rapper, the father, the godfather of what we call R&B, was a man named Louis Jordan. He used to rap and he used to toast in his music.
Jack, they're looking for a husband, and you're listening to a man that knows. They're not hooking. They ain't fooling. And if you fool around with them, you're gonna get yourself a schooling.
That's Louis Jordan, a song called Brother Beware, where the whole song he's talking over the beat and he's toasting, telling brothers to beware of certain kind of women, certain kind of hussies that be stealing money from brothers. The same shit they talk about in hip hop. That's Louis Jordan talk about that in 1951. You got songs like this, Choo 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 Boogie.
The mouth, the clickety clack, and hear the lonesome whistle, see the smoke from the stack, and pal around with Democrats.
Is he not rapping? Yes, he is. So
I mean, rapping
that
is just one
doesn't
form
that
of
does
hip.
but no
It's just
no I
one
just gave
form.
you said toasting. So
It's one element. It's one
I
element.
just disproved that toasting comes from Jamaica. No, it was already in our music. I just
Oh no, you really
I
didn't.
did. No,
But
I did. I just played you a song where they're toasting. I just played one for you.
I mean,
Want another one?
it's well
I'll give
known.
you
It's
another one.
well known that
I'll give you
toasting.
another one. I'll give you another person.
Yeah,
Before
Grandmaster Flash.
before Louis Jordan, there was a man called Fats Waller. And he had a song where he's talking about women, talking about toasting, called Your Feet's Too Big.
Up in Harlem at a table for two. There were four of us. Me, your big feet, and you.
There were four of us. Me, your big feet, and you. That's toasting. That's clowning. That song was from 1926. That's why I asked a simple question. What did New York bring to music that did not exist before Cool Herc? And the answer is, before you bug out, the answer is nothing. There was nothing.
I mean, if that's your conclusion, I mean, nobody agree with
No,
that. But
everyone agrees with me. Matter of fact, if you want scholarship, I would ask you to pick up this book called African American Music, if you can find it. And in this book, it's talking about the continuum of Black American music going back to the 1800s, and it shows how hip hop was evolved. This is what we call a scholarly journal. This isn't a Fat Joe interview. This isn't a Busta Rhymes talk. These are music professors from that teach in music universities and universities around the country, and they're showing how the whole hip hop situation came from bebop, came from jazz, came from blues, came from ragtime, came from spirituals. This is academic. This is one book. I have multiple books I can show you. Death of Rhythm and Blues by Nelson George, Soul American, how the Black American music transformed white culture. That book talks about it. There's another book here called Race Music, and it talks about all the different music that led up and how hip hop, just like blues, just like jazz, just like everything else, was race music, and it was named off racial terms. Bebop, that's all that bebop, bibbity bop. Hip hop, what's all that hip hop, hippity hop? They were even named in the same form and fashion because of the race of the people creating
Who
the
coined
music.
the term hip hop?
The term hip hop came off the streets. It was really particular rap music. Some white person ended up coining the term. I forgot who it was. Some white folks ended up
No, it was
coining it.
actually Africa Bambaataa.
And
He coined the
so,
term.
no, before Africa Bambaataa. And Africa Bambaataa is somebody that's been a proven liar. He's also a child molester. And he's somebody who, when it comes to the Zulu Nation, according to Africa Bambaataa himself, he was imitating one nation, the Funk Nation, George Clinton. That's why Africa Bambaataa wore the Egyptian stuff. That comes from George Clinton. That comes from Parliament Funkadelic. That the Zulu Nation was patterned after George Clinton's Funk Nation. It wasn't just the beats; it was also the culture and the different nations of musicians that were under the umbrella of George Clinton. That's a fact.
Right.
Africa. I learned that from Africa Bambaataa.
I respect I respect your scholarship, brother. I just feel like you're doing revisionist
I'm not
history.
doing
Like,
and I hear you saying, but look, that's why I made it very clear. I'm not here for people's feelings. You can look, you have the right to feel however you want to feel. I'm not here to change how you feel. I'm only here to give people proof as to what I'm saying. Now, you can like it, you cannot like it, you cannot care.
no, I respect it. I respect it. You're trying to do a revisionist history
It's, no,
of
no, no, no,
something that's
no.
well established.
Let's make it very clear. This is not revisionist history. This Cool Herc starting hip hop shit, that's revisionist history. Even the brother who took the Source magazine photo I covered on this very show about 2 months ago, he didn't even, he said had he known the founders of hip hop would have been the title, he wouldn't have took the picture because there's more brothers there. They cropped all the other black men out and only put those three. The photographer himself said he would not have taken that picture had he known that was going to be the title because that wasn't true. That's revisionist history. What I'm doing is I'm pointing out to people the history that existed when I took music history courses in college 25 years ago. This was normal conversation in academia. You ask me about my background? My background is in college. And I took 6 different music history courses in college, and this was just the normal thing until the last few years. The last few years is the revisionist history. Just giving
Yeah,
you information.
yeah, brother. But nobody protests when they rename Cool Herc Block Hip Hop
So,
Avenue. Nobody
fine.
protests.
That's
No,
fine. That's fine.
nobody protests at the
That's
hip hop
fine. Do you
museum
know that
that just opened in the Bronx
no one,
about.
no one protested a street being named after Charlie Kirk in Orange County last week. No one protested that. So what?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, you got a street named after him. So what?
yeah, you got the street named Hip Hop Avenue. The
Great.
the
Like,
hip hop
but I
museum just
mean, but
opened
that
in the
doesn't.
Bronx.
Most people, most people don't know the difference between the predicate and the verb. So, so fine. But the academia, along with the sound when you hear it in the music, that right there is undisputable. Now, if people want to go ahead and believe the convenient lie, because it's a very convenient lie to say that, hey, this grand form of music started at this one origin point. And even when you take it from that point of view, nothing in hip hop is new. Hip hop ain't got its own beat. Hip hop ain't got its own slang. Hip hop ain't got nothing original. Everything it takes from the music that came
Yeah,
before it. Everything.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if you like Carl Benz is the founder of the automobile, but Carl Benz didn't create the engine. He didn't create the wheel. He didn't create anything associated with the car. But he used all the elements to make a car to create the car. It's no different with Kool Herc. He used
No,
different
no, no. It's
elements
very
that was
no.
already existed.
It's very different. It's not the same because I would say that okay, no one invent like James Brown didn't invent music. The drums existed, the bass existed, the blues, the harmonies, the melodies all existed. Now, what James Brown did was he took all those things that already existed and he flipped the timing of it, the tempo, the groove, and the feeling, and created funk. What hip hop did was take what James Brown did and minimize it into a 2-bar loop and wrapped over top of it. It didn't do anything new. It didn't change the integral structure of the music the way James Brown did. It literally took what James Brown did and and um and just rapped over top of it. Like hip hop, like this beat right here. Hip hop didn't create its own version of this. Hip hop didn't create its own version of this beat.
If you didn't want to be in here, I know you got soul.
What hip hop did was it took the exact same beat and looped it for 2 bars and just rapped over top of it. That's what I mean by hip hop didn't create nothing new. It literally took what was already existing. It didn't change anything. It didn't change anything with this structure.
Right.
It just said, "I'm gonna take what's already here and rap over top." That's all hip hop did.
Yeah,
Way
but
different
like I
than Benz
said,
creating than Benz creating a Mercedes. Way different.
it's similar. It's
No, it's
similar
not
because Carl
similar.
Benz he didn't create anything. He just took different elements of things and
No, James Brown did create. James Brown took a sound that before James Brown James Brown did his thing. This is how music was sounding. That's how music was sounding. He literally changed the core component of how music was sounding before he got onto it. And he this is how music was sounding before James Brown. He took that sound and in Stacks, you had it sounding like this down in Stacks. Down in the South, it was sounding like. He took these sounds. He took all of these sounds. He took those sounds, and what he did was instead of staying in the same mold as those sounds like hip hop, what hip hop would have done with those sounds would have been limited to a 2-bar loop, and then just rap over top it. James Brown said, "No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna change the emphasis. I'm gonna change the core component on how the music is layered, and I'm gonna come with this hard." James Brown made the music hard. Rap already existed before James Brown. But when James Brown made the beat hard, that's what created the pocket for now rap music to have its own lane. Because rap music, before James Brown made the beat hard, was just a component of a song. It was just a breakdown of a song. It wasn't the main course. James Brown making the music hard, it gave the hip hop producers something to sample. Hip hop didn't make the music harder. They didn't do anything new structural wise to make the music outside of, okay, I'm gonna give you one more example. I was talking about this in my class earlier. You express the song like "Express Yourself." This is West Coast hip hop. Going back into how New York ain't got nothing to do with how we did music in LA. "Express Yourself" was 1969 funk out of LA. Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Band. That's how we did it. Watts 103rd Street Band out of LA.
Then, you from LA?
Yeah, and then NWA took that same song, sampled it, and just and all Dr. Dre did was put a thicker kick on it.
They don't flow like this one. You know what? I won't hesitate to diss one or two before I'm through. So
He just took the same song and put an 808 kick on it. But
Okay.
that's the most evolution you're going to get out of hip hop, emphasizing drum and bass out of a song that already exists.
Okay. Like I said, I respect, I respect your motivation on everything, and now that I know that you're from Los Angeles, it kind of all makes sense
No,
now.
that doesn't. No, stop it, stop it, stop it. We're not again. Hey, folks, that doesn't have anything to do with none of this shit. It's the fact that Black America has a sound. Where are you from, by the way?
I'm from New York,
What about before New York?
Jamaica.
There we go. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. And here's why it makes sense. When we were creating all this culture, you weren't here. So it doesn't make sense to you. I'm making this because your family wasn't here for Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Your family
What you
wasn't
mean
here
not?
for
What you mean not here? Well, I
in
don't get that.
America. Your family wasn't in America for Louis Armstrong. Your family wasn't in
Oh,
America for Fats Waller. Your parents weren't in America, and if they were, they were listening to soca. They weren't in America for none of this experience. Your family got to America, and you guys came into a rich culture, just like Kool Herc, that was already existing, and your first interaction with American culture comes from the perspective of hip hop. So to you, this is a starting point. It's an origin point because your bloodline just wasn't here when the rest of that stuff was being created. So it makes sense that you
Afro
feel that
Caribbean's
way.
been in Afro Caribbean's
No,
been in New
you
York
say
since
you're
the
from
18.
Jamaica. No, we're talking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're from you say your family. You guys were not here when this rich culture was going on. So to you, you have a different perspective on the music that versus those of us who grew up with our grandmamas listening to Louis Jordan. Your grandmama wasn't listening
Brother,
to Louis Jordan.
I have a perspective of the consensus. You got a
No, no, no,
perspective
no.
of a French
Exactly. You
theory.
know, no. You have the perspective of somebody who don't know what the fuck they talking about because you weren't here. It's simple. You
I'm
were
leaning on the
not
consensus and the
here.
eyewitness accounts.
No, 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 no,
Wait.
no, no. There's no consensus. You have you.
Yeah.
No, there's not. No, there's no. The general.
The man block is named Hip Hop Avenue. There's no way
That's
else
a
where you could
block.
find
The academic consensus is this is Black American music that extends from the blues. That's the consensus, brother.
the
Pick up
consensus
a
amongst
book.
the eyewitness accounts
No,
as
no,
the
that's
chat
not
was
true.
saying. Kool Herc,
Even in New
Grandmaster
York,
Flash.
I have my brother DJ Faze calling all the time. DJ Faze out in New York, he said it himself that Kool Herc didn't start nothing. The eyewitnesses back then talking about Grandmaster Flowers,
Yeah,
DJ
that's
Disco,
anecdotal.
DJ Disco King Mario. They were talking about these guys who were doing what Kool Herc got credit for in 1973. Disco King Mario was doing in 1967, according to eyewitness New York accounts. But you weren't here. So you don't know that. You weren't in America. So you don't
Right,
understand this. What all I'm saying
right.
is this. You moved to a country that has had music going back 200 years, going back the first exported music out of America in 1818 was a Black American out of Philadelphia named Francis Johnson. For more than 200 years, Black America has been created the music and the culture for this country. And hip hop was just
Right.
the newest evolution of a long school, old school thing. You did not educate yourself on the history of this place. You came in
Right.
and you heard propaganda. And let me tell you why you heard that propaganda. The
How
reason
is
the reason why you
propaganda?
heard that propaganda is because the United States of
Said
America's
propaganda.
relationship, the United States of America's relationship with Black Americans is to discredit us for
Propaganda.
all of our inventions. They discredit us for they
Nobody
discredit
discrediting
us for
African
they
Americans.
discredit us from
Nobody discrediting
inventing the light
African
bulb.
Americans.
They discredited us from inventing the light bulb. They discredited us for inventing the all the different parts on the train. They discredited us from inventing our own music. They did discredit us from inventing rock and roll. They discredited us from inventing jazz. They discredited us from inventing
Who is
blues.
discrediting African Americans from inventing rock and jazz?
Where the
You could
fuck
go to
have you?
Congo
Where
Square.
have you
You
been? Again,
Brother,
you
you could
don't,
go to Congress
brother.
Square right
This
now
just
and it's
shows
gonna
you
say
don't
this is the
know.
birthplace
This
of
just
jazz.
shows you
Nobody
don't
disputing that.
know. This just shows you don't know your history. In America, they say in New Orleans, like you said earlier, it was a combination of African and French. Even though you cannot name one African or French person that had anything to do with the start of jazz, it's still they still get. And you start the conversation by giving the credit to jazz to African and French. Yet you cannot name one African nor one French person. You help prove my point with how you
Oh,
started
I
this
understand. You
conversation.
think you're a Native American. I get it
No,
now.
brother, listen, listen,
Are you an
listen.
African American or you a Native American?
Okay, you don't want to talk. You lost. It's over with.
I'm just asking.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna finish my point because you're no longer want to have a real conversation. You're from somewhere else. You moved to a culturally rich country. You did not study the history of this country. You, matter of fact, what's even worse, what's even more insulting from brothers like that, they don't even study the history of their own country, of their own culture, and ask themselves, how did we go from soca to hip hop? He doesn't even know that ska, rocksteady, and reggae are Black American rhythm and blues offshoots. And that's the problem. People who are not from here. That's what it comes down to, folks. These people do not have respect. That brother right there, he was nice. He was cool. He wasn't loud. But at the end of the day, he has no respect for Black
Call from
Americans. Because
AGC.
had he had respect for Black Americans, he would realize, one, I'm on their land and I'm new here. Let me shut up and learn, especially if somebody's giving me academic information, giving me books I can read, interviews I can watch. If you're humble and have respect for a culture, you're going to listen to the people from those streets, not other people from your culture that's lying to you. It comes down to these people not having respect for Black Americans. And that's why I didn't hang up on him, he hung up. All right. I said I was gonna hang up, but he hung up because he has no respect for Black Americans. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's AGC out of Houston. 3 points real quick. The way that you handled that last caller was how I envisioned Robin Walker being dealt with whenever you have your chance with him. Second of all, when you spoke about George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic, what I've noticed is his early doo-wop music, when Parliament Funkadelic came out, because originally when it was doo-wop, they were just called the Parliaments from the cigarettes, from an interview that he did, he kind of revisited some of his doo-wop music and
Oh
funked it
yeah.
out. So yeah.
Oh yeah. On the album Ozium, he revisits a lot of that stuff. A lot of those things. A lot of those. Is it? I forget, is it Ozium? It's O something. And let me see. Is it? Oh, let me see. Album. I think I'm just gonna get the name of the album right because I have the original CD. Yeah, Ozium. Osium. OS. Osmium. 1969, 70. Yeah, a lot of that stuff he revisits later on. But go ahead.
Oh, and then the third point is when the caller tried to discredit your scholarship, asking about what degrees do you have, and you showed him a degree. Even if you hadn't shown him a degree, there is a concept called an honorary degree, and it is rewarded to people. It's awarded to people who have a lifetime of accomplishment. And so you don't always have to go to an academic university to be recognized for your scholarship, and then certain institutions will award an honorary degree, which is an actual degree. And so you'll have people like Neely Fuller, who was never recognized by the establishment, but the community will acknowledge the lifetime's work, and it will be seen later on as a staple of that community. And so if you look at just somebody in the community that will recognize, look at a Corey Holcomb. Corey Holcomb is proven to have been a philosopher that
Yeah,
academia
nigga
would
is.
not recognize, but you can see that there are parallels in his approach to analyzing the world that academia later on will pick up on and write papers about. But that's my point in Alan.
I appreciate it, dog. Yeah, the scholarship part. Look, this is what I learned from college. I learned how to research. I learned how to communicate.
All from
The rest of that stuff I learned from college, I forgot. I forgot 99.9% of college. But what I do remember was how to research, the difference between experience, primary source, secondary source, how to find what questions to ask to find, and I learned from college how to present my findings. Everything else, I forgot. So, dude calling in talking about something, do you have a degree? That shows you the disrespect these people have for black Americans. He literally, first off, from Jamaica. Why is he asking me for a degree? We ain't even from here, don't know what the fuck he talking about. Second off, when I furnished said degree, oh, it still doesn't matter. And he ain't even got a goddamn college degree. That motherfucker ain't got a degree in nothing but bullshit and rice patties. But I'm gonna get you a caller in 1 second. Let me read the super chat. Roger says, to my fellow New Yorker on the call, hurt Jamaican travel from Southwest Bronx to Southeast Bronx, Rosedale Park. Learn from Friedman, DJ Mario. Bam acknowledged this. Herc used to acknowledge it too. Appreciate that. Herc most definitely used to acknowledge traveling around and learning from black Americans. All these people I do is listen to Cool Herc himself. Go Gadget says, what's sad is that they don't study our history because they don't have any respect for us or our culture. Fact, Go Gadget. Felix Speak says in the super chat, you held it down, DeJuan. Salute. Appreciate that, Felix Speak. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Theo the Thinker, man. How you doing?
Theo the Thinker. What's on your mind, brother?
Calling from Northwest Indiana, right near Chicago and Gary.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah, you an American. I know that. You over there.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know, brother, might be time to segue over to since that one tether called in. It might be time. I don't mean the name call, but it walked like a duck. But the thing is this: it's time to talk about the dude, Burner Boy.
Oh, I did a whole show on him yesterday, 2 days ago.
Yeah. I thought you had we've woven him into this discussion as well.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really sad, man. I'm gonna go to the big picture right now. Okay, the overarching principle to all of this is the disrespect of foundational Black Americans or descendants of slaves or us who have grandparents and great-grandparents and go back to the 1700s. It's a disrespect of us is what I'm seeing.
Real talk.
It's pathetic. And I do believe we are owed an apology and a thank you from these folks. The first thing they need to do when they come to this country, sure, they need to learn all of the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and learn about the Revolutionary War, etc. That's fine. Learn the Pledge of Allegiance and pretend like they're patriotic. That's fine, because that's your entry. But at the same time, they need to read They Came Before the Mayflower. They need to read The Miseducation of the Negro and countless other books that you've referenced since you've been on the air. They got to do that first before they can even come to us. And then the apology and the thank you. Now, this Burner dude, okay? I'm glad they didn't come. See, I'm from the heart of America. We are in the belly of the beast up here in the Midwest.
Yes, you
That's
are.
Why that funk came out of. You know what I'm saying, brother? That's why that funk came out of Ohio. We are right in the middle of all of this, and we've seen it all from the folks that ain't like us, right? So, as it were, we have a grasp of what's real, And so it didn't surprise me that Chicago or Minneapolis, for that matter, showed up for that cosplaying dude that thinks he's a soul brother. And it's blasphemy what he said about his own countryman that I think is a flat out hero, which is Fela Kuti. He says he's next to Fela Kuti. No, you ain't, bruh. No, you ain't.
Especially when you consider the fact that Fela had a message in his music. He wasn't just out there performing. He was trying his best to put a message out there. And Burna Boy don't know how to spell message in music. And yeah, that was just
precisely. I just wanted to weigh in on that. You're holding down the fort. You don't need me to help you, man. But I'm just letting you know. I'm totally old school.
I appreciate that, dog. I'll take this next call, my man. Thanks for giving us a call.
All right, brother. Peace, brother.
Yes, sir.
Call from.
What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Donald, coming from Los Angeles, brother.
Donald from Los Angeles. What's on your mind, brother?
Oh, man.
Turn it down in the background. Turn the radio down in the background.
Oh, my bad. I'm on the Bluetooth phone. My fault. Is it still messing with you?
You good now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Dude was just trying to be a contrarian. You gave him a whole bibliography. He still couldn't get it. But what he was wrong with the hip hop being Africa band bottom. See, the thing is, when hip hop became the term that was coined hip hop, you had people that were saying that's that hippity hoppity stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was really started by Keith Cowboy and Love Bug Star Skeet. They coined it, the term made it official, because Keith Cowboy was going to the army. And when he came from the army, he started kind of using hip hop in that military cadence. You know how they say hip hop, like the military cadence. So that's where that twin come in. It didn't really come from Africa band bop.
It didn't
come. A lot of people don't know the
history of it, and it started just like hip hop. At the end of the day, the whole thing of it coming up in the lexicon was people imitating how it sounds. When rappers came out, people saying hip hop, a hip to the hippity hop hop hop. I remember when I was just a kid. All the old people, my dad's generation, all the people who like the Motown and shit, they didn't like rap. So they'd be like, all that hip hop, hippity hippity hop. And it was the exact same story with bebop. The swing generation was to the bebop generation what the funk and disco generation was to the hip hop generation. The swing generation did not like this loud bebop, beebity-bop sound because swing was polished, it was clean. Hip-hop came in, bebop came in, they changed their suits, they changed the lingo, they came up and the swing generation was saying, I don't want to hear all this bebop, bibbity-bop. So both forms were born out of sort of what the people who were hating on the genres were sort of saying about it. And then the terms eventually got coined. And, and I heard what you said before, but it's a few origin stories of the term hip hop. That's why I tend not to give one person. I'm not going to tell you not to, because I agree with you. But it's like a polygenesis. I just more so talk about the environment it was born out of. And then some people took it, But go ahead, brother.
No, I was about to say, no, you're right, because I was just saying that's who kind of coined it, the term. I ain't saying who actually
Yeah.
But that's kind of coined. It's just like G-Funk. Like, you know what I mean? Dr. Dre was doing G-Funk, but the term came from Above the Law when they made the song.
Right.
Make it officially that genre G-Funk.
Right.
But not to disrespect Above the Law, but the thing is, he don't understand is that a lot of those old school rappers that they was talking about, they was influenced by cats like you said, like the Jubilaries, the Louis Jordans, the Roscoe Jordans from Philadelphia, and the Pig Meets Markham. If you listen to Pig Meets Markham, Here Comes the Judge and Call Your Number, you would have thought that was a modern day rap song, and you would have thought that was a modern day Scarface, because he actually has the same pace that Scarface has, just a little bit more aggressive. So, they have, like you say, DJ Faze, they made a documentary called Busta Rhymes The Bumps, where they broke down the whole thing, saying that Kool Herc didn't start hip hop, and they did say the same thing about the Source magazine. They did speak on that also, confirm what you said. So, you know, just, I don't want to hold you up 'cause I know you got people to talk to, but I like the information you break it down. I'm taking notes myself. And dude was just trying to be a contrarian, man. He just didn't like the fact you just sliced him up and he couldn't handle it nowhere else. That's it.
Dude has
That's
no.
all it was, man.
Appreciate that, brother. And thanks for the call.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that brother has no disrespect for not this person, but the person that was being the contrary earlier. It's just they have a deep-seated disrespect for Black American culture. Because if you respect our culture, you stand down when presented with facts. And if you have respect for Black culture, you're not going to give me your feeling when I give you a fact. You're not. That's just what it is. You're not going to give me your feeling when I give you a fact. Another book, Jazz and Justice. Another book, To Be or Not to Bop by Dizzy Gillespie's memoirs of the starts of the bebop era. So if you want to know detailed intricacies, nuances, and find similarities between bebop and hip hop, this is a great book. To Be or Not to Bop by Dizzy Gillespie in his memoirs, talking about, in this book, he talks about the resistance he got from the older generation. He talks about the style of dress, the language. You know, it was the bebop generation that gave us terms like hip for cool, terms like bread for money. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Call from
Jazz and Justice by Gerald Horn. Hold on one second, caller.
Okay.
Jazz and
Okay.
Justice by Gerald Horn. Another book that really breaks down the political economy around our music, and you can see draw the connections between jazz and hip hop. I'm not just making this shit up, but it does require you to have an IQ that's higher than that's going to require you to have an IQ that's higher than the temperature in wintertime in Alaska for you to understand. I'm gonna appreciate the super chats, and I'm gonna get right to you, caller. I'm gonna get the
Okay.
acknowledge these super chats. I mean these cash apps. Ebony, appreciate the cash app. Williams, I appreciate the cash app, and the Tribute Lawson, appreciate the cash app. Thank you. What's up, caller? What's the name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Kiki. I'm from South LA, Dwanby. Let me say this. What's I'm trying to figure out with this whole thing about the East Coast claiming hip hop is the fact that they, like you said before, they didn't even have enough respect for us over here on the West Coast to even know anything about Uncle Jam's Army, about Egyptian Lover, about any of those things. And my other point is that if Jamaica, the Caribbean, and all these other places are claiming that they had such an influence on hip hop, why didn't it start there and not over here? Why did it start over here in America? Why didn't it start in the Caribbean?
Hey, I got another question.
That's my whole point.
I got another question. Why is it even when Shabba Ranks dropped in like '93, he wasn't rapping?
Yes.
He was singing. He was doing.
No.
He was doing like where are your rappers out of Jamaica in 1995? Where are your rappers out of Jamaica in 2005? Where are your rappers out of Jamaica in 2015? Like
exactly, that's what I'm saying. It seems like to me, when I think of Caribbean, when I think of Jamaica, not only do I think of reggae, I think of those other genres also, but I don't automatically think of rap music. And I know for a fact that, like the previous caller said, Pigmeat Martin and all these people in my dad's era, they were kids in the 50s and 60s, and they were talking about people that were rapping back then. And that was here in America. I don't know about anybody rapping in the Caribbean.
Right, because as Americans, we don't even pay attention to what's going on in the Caribbean. We just don't. We could be in an apartment building and 10 of our neighbors be Caribbean and we still won't know what the fuck is going on because we don't care.
Exactly.
No disrespect, but we don't care.
No. I love Caribbean people. I love my Caribbean brothers and sisters. I love my African brothers and sisters too, but they need to stop this shenanigans and this foolishness with the fact that they're trying to take something that we created here in America. That was created here in the United States of America. That's an American experience. Our music is a product of a Black American experience. It's not the product of an African experience, a Caribbean experience, or an Afro-Latino experience. It's a product of an American experience.
Real talk, man. Thanks for giving us a call.
Thank you.
She's right. She's 100% right. Like, our music is an interpretation of our experience. And it's such an insult when people come over here And and to all my New Yorkers, this goes to all my Black American New Yorkers that are native to the United States of America. I hear y'all. I hear y'all. I hear you. Native New Yorkers whose family comes from the Carolinas and Georgia, you guys are always saying
Call
we
from
ain't
No,
hating on the
Neil.
rest of the country. It's these tethers. I hear y'all. The only thing you guys got to hear from us on the West Coast is we've been hearing this shit since the 80s. And we don't know which ones, especially we kind of know now in 2025, a little bit, barely. A little Pete Rock, Busta Rhymes started coming out as Caribbean, since the pandemic? Before that, we don't know difference. All we hear is one region trying to take credit for shit our grandmamas was listening to. And we were all like, the fuck you taking credit for that for? My grandmama was listening to that. That ain't had nothing to do with you, nigga. So y'all gotta understand, it gotta be louder when it comes to checking these people. Because as long as they put the rep New York as long as they rep in New York and they're shitting on the rest of the country, the rest of the New York are just gonna have to catch strays. What's up, caller? What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm in college in Buffalo, New York. My name is Norel.
Norel, what's on your mind?
Okay, so my what I have to talk about is I heard Robin Walker say something so fallacious and so wrong not too long ago, and he's like constantly talking about this. Is he says that Black Americans are the only people out of all the diaspora that doesn't have polyrhythm. And so I'm like you, Brother Duran. I grew up in church, and like my mind immediately went to like the different clapping rhythms that we do, like when we don't have no music. The clap, 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 or pop up, all that, what we do with our hands, our feet, all that. And I thought about Dizzy Gillespie, how he talks about leaving where he left his church and going to the Sanctified Church, and it was 3 different brothers on different drums playing different rhythms. I think about Mavis Staples. If you listen to the Staples singers sing, they got a song called "Sit Down, Weary Servant," where they like clapping different polyrhythms. Like, what do you have to say about that? Because I think that's just totally false. We've kept the polyrhythms here.
You're the second person that brought up the Robin Walker video. So I think what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Do you still have a copy of the video that you're talking about? Do you know where it's at?
Well, I heard him say this like 2 years ago.
Okay.
I heard another video.
Well, I thought I have some other videos. I was gonna say send it to me. But those of you out there listening, whatever parts of Robin Walker talking, if you want me to break it down, email it. I'll do it tomorrow. But email me info@dewanb.com, a link, a YouTube link or Twitter link, and tell me the timestamp that you want me to break down. Because I've done it before, but I'll do it again because I see a lot of people calling in. See, that's because Robin Walker doesn't understand the funk. And I know Robin Walker's a musician, and I got a lot of love for Robin Walker, a lot of respect. He's just wrong on this one. And a lot of it is because he's following the general consensus when it comes to American music. But when it comes to my family, I know that my family has Poarch, Native, Potawatomi, Powhatan, and each one of these tribes have polyrhythms indigenous to their sound. Baby Dodds, the drummer for King Oliver's Creole jazz band, the drummer, his grandfather was an Indian wood drummer, firewood. Well, he knew how to take hollow shells of trees and tap in communication. So even the drummers have Native American origins, Black Native American origins, and our drum polyrhythms are just different. The rest of the world has polyrhythms. One drum is playing this, another drum is playing that, another drum playing this, and that's what they call polyrhythm. What we call polyrhythm in America is one person on a drum set playing 4 rhythms. Go ahead.
Okay, lastly, I'm going to say this and I'm going to check off. My people's from Mississippi, so I got a lot of Indian native blood in me. But Okay, I have a question. Like, would you consider, like, I heard James Brown talk about every instrument in his band is the drums. He like calls them the drums, like the guitar's the drums, the bass is the
Organ,
drums.
everything, yeah.
So would you consider like funk, like polyrhythmic, like with the
Yeah.
instruments too?
Most definitely it's
Okay.
polyrhythmic. It's just our polyrhythms show up in a completely different way than the rest of the diaspora, which is further proof that our music is completely unique from the rest of the diaspora. Like what Robin Walker is saying we don't have, I'll flip that and show you and show him as proof as to how and why our music is unique versus the rest of the diaspora. Because if I'm dealing with an Afro beat, that ain't nothing but a reggaeton beat. If you think about it, they shit's the same. Our shit's different. You dig?
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, appreciate you, Brother Dewan. Listen to you all the time. I'm in college, so I love to listen to you.
Man, salute to you, man, and keep doing what you do, brother.
All right, peace out.
Yeah, the Black American rhythm, the Black American polyrhythm is completely different than the diaspora's polyrhythm. Our polyrhythm is on one thing. When I'm on the drums, tell me you ain't playing poly. I play the drums, my left hand is playing one thing, tick, 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 tick. That's one rhythm. My snare is playing a different rhythm, tick, 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 snare, tick, tick, snare, tick, tick, snare. My foot is playing a different rhythm, dun, dun, da, dun, dun, da, dun, dun. I'm playing 1, 1, 2. The foot might be and I might be swinging it with the foot. Third rhythm is that snare. Fourth rhythm is my hi-hat. Every time I go, it's because I'm lifting my foot off the hi-hat. So when you're dealing with Black American polyrhythms, it's a polyrhythm sound. It just looks different and it sounds different. I'm gonna take one more call before I get up out of here. What's up, call? I'm taking you're gonna be my last call, but give me 1 second and I'm gonna get to you after I make this point. They're talking about Black American polyrhythms. Let me show you a Black American polyrhythm. Let me go here. Your polyrhythm, that's the hi-hat foot. I'm a left-handed drummer, so that's my right foot. Most drummers, that's their left foot. That's one rhythm. And we're going to talk about this and break this down tomorrow. Rhythm number 2. The second rhythm was that kick. First rhythm. Second rhythm. The drummer is Myron, the guy you see all the way to the left. Oh no, you don't have that. You guys don't have it up on camera. Let me put it up on camera. I'm gonna get right to you, caller. Here it is, the Commodores. That's the second rhythm on the drums. One drummer, that's the drummer all the way on the left, looking like Rajon Rondo with a perm. And then the third rhythm, that click. In the first 2 seconds, I'm you 3 different rhythms. Click. Third rhythm, one person, 3 rhythms. Click. That's really 4 rhythms because hi-hat 1, because I'm lifting my foot. That's 2 rhythms right there actually. One with my left hand, one with my right foot. The third rhythm was a rhythm with my left foot, and the fourth rhythm was a rhythm with my right hand. 4 rhythms. Polyrhythm means multi-rhythms. It means more rhythms going at one time. It means not just one rhythm at a time. It means at the same time, there are different rhythms going. Just in the first 2 seconds of that song, Zoom, you heard 4 rhythms. What is 4 rhythms? Polyrhythm. What's up, caller? What's the name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Dewan, this is Danae from Hawthorne. How you doing?
Danae from Hawthorne. What's on your mind?
No, not so much. I just want to first say, man, like your scholarship on Black American music is like almost overwhelming. It's so deep and so in depth. I'm like, I get overwhelmed with so much of the information. but it's like because it's so rich and deep, and so I thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. I have a question or two about your the course that you're doing. I have so much to do, but I want to be able to get to that course. Are you going to be, once you're done with everything, are you going to be able to, like, can we purchase that on for a Patreon once you're done with everything?
It's on the Music University tier, and I keep them up. I just re-uploaded the third course. I'm about to upload the fourth when we're done here. So if you're on the Music University tier, you can access them at any time. I will, when I'm done with the full course, if you want to purchase it as a standalone, that option will be available too.
Okay, cool.
But on the Patreon level, you get all my courses. Like, I have courses I taught on the 100 Years of Music. I did a summer school for kids. I did one on my next one after this is going to be on the history of jazz. So I'll do 3 full-length courses a year. So on Patreon, you get access to the previous ones and the current ones. But if you do want to purchase a standalone, when I'm done with the course, yeah, I will put it up for sale as a standalone.
Okay, great. I don't think I'm I don't think I'm at that level, but I'll definitely get on that level. So, but because everything that you're doing and saying is, for me, it's just kind of on a personal level. Like, I grew up with a father who's a musician, a funk bass player. And so my household was, my dad's from Oakland. And so my whole, like, life growing up is listening to funk music. My dad's favorite band is Consumption, Lakeside, Graham Central Station, Sly and the Family Stone. Like, my dad he's a bass player that plays by ear. He doesn't read music. So so we would listen to this music, in my household and watch him practice playing it by ear. So when that guy was calling in and his only perspective of Black American music is hip hop, is what these foreigners don't know is that it's just my parents' generation, like, my father did not like hip hop. He didn't like us listening to it. Me and my sisters, we used to remember the magazines Word Up and Right On. We used to, rip the pictures out and put it on our wall. He hated it. And and the one reason why he did not like hip hop, because he would always say, that is just a sample. And I never knew what he was talking about.
It's just a
right?
sample.
Like,
Yep.
I heard that before. Right? So I would never know. I always think he was just kind of being grumpy, But the scholarship that you brought with music and talking about hip hop and breaking it down to a sample-based genre, now it all comes back, full circle for me, because that's the same thing my father would say when we were growing up. He liked some of it here and there, but for the most part, he would always kind of be very critical and dismissive of it, because he was like, it's just a sample. So I just wanted to just point that out on a personal level, and how, like, your scholarship has, like, kind of really touched me, and as well confirmed and affirmed some things for me. So I appreciate
Much
what you're doing.
appreciated. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Okay.
That's Danae. She has some dope ass. I forgot to ask her about her meditation. When she's gonna have another meditation. Danae, my bad. Let me know when you're gonna have another one of those meditation things, and let me know. I'll make sure I put it out there for the people. But yeah, that's just what it is. Hip hop. We gotta remember this about hip hop. This we gotta remember about hip hop. Hip hop / rap. The way I see it is a beautifully written conclusion it's a conclusion paragraph to a beautifully written 100 years of recorded Black American music essay. Hip hop / rap is a conclusion. It's a summary. It's a amalgamation of all the things that we've done, a sample of everything. And that did not start with Kool Herc. Did not. We were spinning records and breaking beats before him. The Kool Herc story is a convenient lie. And if you have any respect for Black Americans, you listen to us when we say that, especially when we're offering you scholarship, not just our feelings and opinions. The problem is, people like to go off their feelings. They want to feel good. Like that one caller called in and said, I feel like. Notice he didn't say, I know, I think. He said, I feel like. Well, it ain't really much I can do with how you feel. And as a man, I'm not one to even address other men's feelings. I don't give a fuck how another nigga feels. That's just a fact. I can't find a fuck to give about how another man feels. But what I can do is be honest and give scholarship. And for those of you who hold on one second. For those of you who want to know better, who want to learn, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for those people who want to learn, know, and who want to understand what it is. And I'm here to give you information as to how to find that and what songs to listen to prove what I'm saying so that we're accurate in our assessment. As far as how you feel, you could turn the way I see it, you could take your feelings, turn them sideways and stick them right up your candy ass. Like The Rock says, the people's eyebrow. You can take the people's elbow for all I give a fuck about. It ain't about that. All right. So what I'll do is I will do the Robin Walker talk tomorrow, since that's what y'all want me to do. Seems like a lot of people talking about that. If you have the video that you want me to break down of Robin Walker talking about black rhythms, because when I did my video on it, it was months ago. It's gonna be hard to find. I'll still look for it. But email me info@dewanb.com and the video and the timestamp you want me to break down, and I will do that for you guys tomorrow. All right? Make sure y'all do that, and I got y'all. All right? Thank y'all again for listening, and remember, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. For those willing to pick up the game, join the Music University over on Patreon for more in-depth discussions. Even though we went 2 hours today, I went far more in depth in 1 hour earlier today on Patreon, breaking down the funk and disco revolution of the 70s. All right. Thank y'all again for listening. We out.